Qadir Hamza escapes Iraq in August 1994 and contacts the CIA, but the agency is unable to confirm his identity. After several months in Turkey, Qadir moves to Libya and takes a job as a professor. He makes several calls home.
I was very happy because I know he's all right, but still I worry about us, how we can leave Iraq, so what's the future for us? All the time when he called me on the phone, I told him, so what about us?
Months after Qadir's disappearance, Saddam doesn't know that the nuclear scientist has fled the country. That changes on April 2nd, 1995, with a newspaper article.
Saddam, now, he had really a hot potato on his hands. He had a loose nuke. He had a loose nuclear scientist. He had to get him back. Couldn't assassinate him because now Qadir's existence is public. It'll reconfirm the world's suspicions about the nuclear program. So he begins a campaign to try to woo Qadir back to Iraq. And of course it fails because Qadir knows if he goes back, he dies.
Qadir's wife and children remain trapped in Baghdad. They are threatened by Iraqi officials. Saddam uses them as leverage in hopes of luring Qadir back.
They do psychological interrogations with you, and the way they pressure you over there, they know your weak points, and they press your buttons, and they say, you know what, we're not going to torture you or put you in jail or anything, but we're going to take your mother and your two young brothers, and we're going to torture them.
But Qadir knows that if he returns to Iraq, Saddam will kill him and his family. He moves to Hungary, where a friend informs him the CIA is looking for him. After a year and a half, the agency has finally verified his claims. Agents fly Qadir to Washington.
They immediately took me to a safe house. From there, I was moved to another, and the process of debriefing continued.
As Qadir briefs U.S. officials, the CIA initiates plans to extract his family from Iraq. A communique is sent to Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona, who's also a CIA operative.
We were operating in the area. We received a cable from headquarters, CIA headquarters, that an Iraqi scientist had defected to the United States. He was the real article, and we absolutely had to guarantee the safety of his family, and that we wanted them extricated from Baghdad as soon as possible.
In October of 1995, Francona arranges for a smuggler to sneak the family out of Baghdad and to the northern Kurdistan town of Mosul, the same city Qadir passed through.
So we left everything. So we left everything, the house, the furniture.
We waited there until the evening. That's when Rick Francona showed up with his team.
I walked in, and up pops this kid, and he said, "Who are you guys?" I told him who we were. I think I said, we're from the United States. Extricating people from Baghdad is not easy. Fortunately, it went off without a hitch, and I have to attribute this to the cool head of Dr. Hamza's oldest son, Firas. He was able to keep the rest of the family calm while he dealt with the people that we had engaged to make this happen.
Safely out of Baghdad, the Hamza family is not yet safe.
We were not out of Saddam's reach. I mean, he could reach anywhere in Iraq, and although this is the Kurdish area, he could still get us.
The Hamzas spend 5 days in a safe house before Francona escorts them across the border into Turkey.
It was really a beautiful scene. I remember we were looking back to Iraq and looking at the mountains, and I was telling my mother that that's the last time we're going to see Iraq, you know.
With the family out of danger, Francona's job is complete.
The last time I saw them was on the tarmac at Ankara Airport when we turned them over to the other agency people.
The next step is America, where the family is reunited.
I was just sitting there frozen. Then the door opened, and people started coming out. Then I stood up and came closer to the door. Then they came out, and my son Zaid, the youngest, was crying, and everybody was, it was an emotional moment.
When I saw him, my youngest son, he was crying. When he saw him, he hugged him and he kissed him, he was crying. So it was really, I can't, you know, say, it was really good.
I mean, you know, there's no words you can describe
I
what
can't
happened,
say
you know?
any words, yeah.
Today, the Hamzas live the American dream. Firas is a computer programmer. Suham raises the youngest of the Hamza children. On talk shows, Qadir is an outspoken supporter of U.S. military intervention in Iraq.
The idea is to get Saddam before he's able to get at us. If you don't, then you are just looking for more trouble in the future. And I don't think it will take much to unseat him right now. People are sick of him. And I think he is very weak inside.
In the midst of their busy lives, the Hamzas have never forgotten the man who helped reunite them.
We'll probably be dead by now if it wasn't for Rick Francona and his team, so they really saved our lives.
Qadir hasn't met Rick Francona. The family hasn't seen him since 1995 when he left them in Turkey. In July of 2002, Francona travels to Washington, D.C. to share a meal with the Hamzas.
This is the first time I've ever met anybody that I had dealings with while conducting operational activities. I hope they remember me. Normally, you try and keep those parts of your life separate. This will be a unique experience for me. I'm looking forward to it. It is a thrill to meet you, finally. It is nice to see you again. Can I hug you? How are you? Oh, I'm fine. You look wonderful. God, you've changed. You've turned into a young man. God,
there's a certain poetic irony to this story, in that when Qadir was even running the nuclear weapons program, he was a captive and Saddam was omnipotent or free. Now, Saddam is the captive by virtue of his own foreign policy and military blunders. He's contained in his own country. He has nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And Qadir is free.
While Dr. Hamza might live in freedom, he is not free from the burden of once working to build a nuclear weapon for one of the world's most dangerous tyrants. If Iraq deploys a nuclear bomb, it will be due to the efforts of Iraqi scientists, including Qadir Hamza.
We started the organization. We started sending the teams abroad to get trained. We started sending students abroad to get certain fields. We started the whole thing over 20, 30 years' time. So we are responsible to a degree for it, yes.